Hello, boys and girls. Welcome back to KSP to Mars, episode 71, where once again we will be attempting to go to Mars. Last episode, Ludrin landed on the planet, did a few steps, and spectacularly failed to get off it. Now, I must admit, I went to the internet, had some lookings around as to how to land on the real solar system Mars, and it turns out there's something wonky is up with the planet. In real life, there's bits that are below the datum, like they would be below sea level if it had seas, and thus they would have higher air pressure. In KSP, the datum, the zero elevation, is actually the lowest point of the planet. So we are struggling against an even thinner atmosphere than we rightfully should. And on a side note, the KSC appears to have is being encroached by fog. Somehow, that's really strange. Anyway, there's even less of an atmosphere than there is in the real world. Also, the elevation and the pressure makes for parachutes that virtually never work. So that's a problem. Now, I could solve the problem by getting real chutes or modding, increasing the atmospheric pressure of Mars. But I thought that's silly. We have a challenge here. We have a lot of parts. We have futuristic stuff. We should conquer the planet that way. And I went to designing in the VAB and I decided screw those chemical engines, screw those thermal engines. Let's move back to the future. Let's do the KSP interstellar thing and try what I did before with the Hephaestus, like episode 62 I think. Something in that area. Trying to make a DT Vista inertial fusion drive powered ship. So this thing has one engine. It's this behemoth here. And that has a massive specific impulse. Now the problem in the past was that the reactors were too heavy. We needed to run in deuterium tritium mode. The reactor was too heavy. The generators weren't efficient enough, nor were their heat radiators. And that meant that these ships would be very efficient in space, but not so much in lifting off. Well, these restrictions have been lifted by the inexorable advance of science. So we have a generator on a fusion reactor. Let's turn that on. That is powerful enough to just power this and keep it going without intermittent pulsing or any of that nonsense. Well, we have three pods here. They don't have engines, they just have fuel, and they have fission reactors that will be used mostly for tritium breeding and to provide startup power for this reactor. Here, have a look at how well that goes. It just lifts off straight from the pad. Let's retract the struts. Go on, the landing struts. And here we have a fully functioning space vessel, which should be able to land on, well, anywhere really. The only problem is we need to slow down before actually hitting atmosphere, because of course we have no heat shields. That means we will be of course requiring gargantuan amounts of delta V. So we have our fusion reactor here with deuterium and tritium. Tritium which is being bred by these fission reactors. Now such tritium breeding is nowhere near fast enough to supply a going reactor, but we can pause this in the coast phases and then these three reactors should keep us going. Fuel wise, we have three of these tanks with just liquid fuel and one of these kinds and one of this kind. So we have some fuel, but well, compared to traditional chemical rockets, that is not a lot of fuel. So how much delta V are we going to get out of this? Well, according to the engineer, just about 48,000 kilometers, well, 48 kilometers per second. And that is with this engine at full thrust. If we reduce the thrust here, the specific impulse rises. So at this level we would have about 80,000 meters per second. So that will give us more than enough delta V. And I've said that many a time before, and not always was it true. So I'm going to put a little bit of a caution on those words. You never know, we might end up needing more than we have. But I think this futuristic design, no staging, no chemical burning, just fusion and reactors, will get us a long way there. Well, if you are paying really close attention, you'll see we are now in year 23. whereas the previous episode was in year 19 or 20, so we're rocketing through the years. Haha, nice pun. Rocketing through the years right quick. And today is, well, it's actually tomorrow. In 1 day from now we have an ideal launch window to Mars, which we will, of course, be more than happy to utilize. You will notice that this ship also has a full suite of science equipment and some antenna to radio home the findings. We've got 2 Kerbals in there, we've got Edon and Jetzer, and well, maybe they will no longer be the first person to land on Mars, because on the last episode that did actually turn out pretty well, but maybe they will be the first people to report anything from that place. We're carrying experiment base, we're carrying goo canisters, and as long as the spirits of Mars don't rip off our landing legs, as happened on the previous episode, then we should be a-okay for a landing. The thrust to weight ratio on this thing is pretty good. It's about 2, which, well, should suffice for a Mars landing easy, and it will of course only increase with the burning of this fuel. That said, most of the mass of this is not actually fuel, it's reactor, it's engine, it's payload, but of course the thrust to weight ratio will creep up slightly. So, with this effortless launch underway, we are almost leaving the atmosphere, at which point we can start to think about deploying these heat radiators, because there is the issue of waste heat with this. We sort of do need that. Bringing no parachutes whatsoever, this thing is a single stage, hopefully to everywhere, and yeah, just try to ignore those clouds. I might get rid of the mod, but because this is ridiculous. But as soon as we reach a little bit higher altitude, that should go away. Anyway, launches from the launch pad into space, you have seen those, so I will cut the video and reconvene with you when we are in orbit, which should be relatively shortly. And here we are. The clouds look better. We are not quite in orbit yet, but almost there, and this is a nice place to demonstrate the efficiency of this DT Vista fusion engine. Currently we're burning at full thrust. That gives us an acceleration of about 2 Gs, because our thrust to weight ratio is 2.1. Yeah. We can reduce that to half thrust. That means we're accelerating still at a G, which should be ample to get us into orbit from here, but our efficiency has just doubled, or more or less. Yeah, we're at 36,900 seconds of specific impulse now, and that means that we suddenly have 101,000 meters per second of delta V, while still accelerating at 1 G. So let's actually make that 1 G, because I think 1 G is a neat number. Yeah, 1.056 Gs of acceleration. That is comfortable and should suffice to get us into orbit, and gives us 86 kilometers per second of delta V, which is a comfortable number. It might as well be infinite. I think for a brachistochrone trajectory to the moon you need about 240. I think a brachistochrone trajectory is a constant acceleration trajectory, where you just basically burn towards the moon until the halfway point, flip around, and then turn back. Although 240 sounds like a low number for that. Anyway, not sure. Anyway, as I said, we're almost in orbit. Once there, I will set up the trajectory to Mars and show you that. So, see you in a few seconds. And here we are, looking up the butthole of our ship. The radiators are extended, and unfortunately it is night, but it did pack some lights, so we can illuminate the ship, sort of. Doesn't really do anything. So, I wonder, can we change the color of the lights whilst they're lit? Doesn't seem like it. No. Anyway, what do we have here? We're burning at half thrust for a 1 G burn. That way, the 3.6 kilometers per second that our transfer burn to Mars will only take 2 to 3 minutes. That's a luxury. The maneuver node we're currently doing has an encounter immediately built in, so that's looking good. And, well, it will take, as I said, 2.5 more minutes. I will set up the encounter and I will reconvene with you then, because, well, fiddling with maneuver nodes and setting up trajectories in the dark isn't the most interesting bit, and if you really do want to see it, check out the last episode. It's 1 hour and 20 minutes for the exact reason that we have lots and lots of that stuff. So, see you in the vicinity of Mars. And ladies and gentlemen, here we are, a periapsis of 400 kilometers. I'm pretty proud of that because the ship is still way over here. We made a wonderful interplanetary rendezvous, well, encounter thing. So that means we can just straight on fast forward to that, which is awesome because that doesn't take long at all. And then we can move to our landing shenanigans, which, well, rightfully should be, well, rightfully should. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, maybe that was a little bit too much time warp. Fortunately, we have quick saves. Okay, is that still properly set up? I hope so. Otherwise, that bragging was all for nothing. Yes, that's still good. So, lesson here, kids, is be careful with the strong time warp, because this can happen. Also, maybe it was a Martian Duna ghost. The Tutankhamun jab is still out there, and last time it ate our landing struts. So, here we're going. We're going in. Oh, the periapsis has changed a little bit. Probably due to, I don't know, jittery stuff, or, you know, Kerbal scientists just not being so very sure about what's going to happen in the future. Their job is predicting that future, but, you know, if they're not good at it, who are we to judge? Anyway, a maneuver node, 1600 meters per second, should be trivial. What I did not do is, in fact, turn off the reactor here. Oh, it did turn itself off. I hope that's not due to any horrible circumstances. Fortunately, this reactor is still on. Tritium here. Oh, we have some more tritium. That's good. We even have helium-3, but, you know, I wonder what happened to this reactor. Why is it offline? Did it run out of tritium and then did it get slowly replenished? Did the heat become too much? I don't know, because I was a fool and didn't pay attention to the ship's systems before engaging time warp, which is a big no-no. You should always pay attention to your ship before throwing it into time warp. Anyway, we are now almost at the periapsis. We will end up with a weird polar orbit, but we don't care about these menial things because, you know, we have fusion power, and using it as a drive, we will not need any fancy aerobraking, hopefully. Right, let's fire up that reactor again. We have left 39 kilometers per second if we burn at full burn, which we will reserve for the descent phase. We will instead burn at something like half thrust, like this, or even quarter thrust. That gives us 115 kilometers per second of delta, which is more than we reasonably need. We do have a docking port. Look, we can refuel this thing, but we don't need to, not yet. Obviously, sending a refueling mission out to Mars will be a little bit of a pain, but, you know, things that can't be helped, can't be helped. Anyway, I will establish orbit here around this beautiful red planet, pick out a landing spot, and then we'll do the landing together, because that is the most exciting bit of this mission. Wait, before doing that, let's see if we can radio home some science. And we can recover this. Let's see if the latest patch has made it so that you actually can recover these things. Might be time for an EVA jaunt. No temperature scan, can't be done. Lights don't help. Rotation could help. I need to see the experiments to click on them. Pressure data, no, that's silly. Gravity data, yeah, we never had guys that returned from here. That's bleak. That is really bleak. Materials bay from here, yeah, that still needs recovering. We could just turn back now and get good data, but you know, that's not our style. We're going all the way. But we are going to do an EVA to collect this. Well, not just the materials bay, that should be enough. Yeah. I mean, just the magnetosphere data. Obviously we can't have the engine firing when we go EVA, because the ship would get away from our Kerbal, but also because the radiation would fry him. So, yeah. Actually, come to think of it, this ship does not have any secondary propulsion, not even RCS. So this engine cannot fire when the Kerbals are outside, because then they die due to the radiation. Okay, so I'm going to shut down the engine. I'm impatient like that, and I'm going to get the data. Take the data. We're still on an escape trajectory, but we are doing science. Ah, damn it! I don't think we can take this data. But doesn't matter. If we get back to Kerbin, we will land and recover the whole ship, and get it that way. Right, we at least got that. Do we have an EVA report from here? I think we do, because that's transmissible. Yeah, we have that. Right, firing up the engine once more. Why is the maneuver node at 1600 again? That makes no sense. Maneuver nodes and EVAs are a bit weird then. Okay. Fortunately, we can do it by the seat of our pants, just by looking at the map view. Anyway, as I said, now I will cut out the video and reconvene when we have selected a landing zone. See you then. And here we are breaking into orbit, well actually lowering our orbit here. And as you can see by the drastic lowering of this orbit, this is also the elected landing spot. Because our polar orbit completely conveniently was straddling the morning and the dawn lines, that meant that we could not really land in full daylight. Considering that the elevation of this polar ice sheet, which I think was about 25 kilometers, doesn't really matter because we're not going to utilize the air to slow down, I thought this is as good a place as any, and we're going in. Now I have to do some thinking. I'm going to assume that the ground is at 30 kilometers, just a good big safety margin. So we can currently accelerate at 2 Gs, and that will burn up our fuel right quick. So at 2 Gs, let's just round that up to 20 meters per second squared. Considering a velocity of a kilometer per second, that will take us 50 seconds to slow down, and that's not taking into account if I'm taking into account the speed at the beginning, that's a kilometer per second, that will require me a safety margin of 50 kilometers. Well, it's less, but I'm not going to do the complete integral, so let's put that at 40. That means if we maintain a speed of 1 kilometer per second going down, and assume the ground to be at 30 kilometers, the 40 kilometer safety margin, I will need to slam on the brakes at 70 kilometers. So that's what we're going to attempt. We will attempt a 1 kilometer per second vertical speed, and we will get there by just gently firing the engine. And then at 70 kilometers, we will slam on the brakes and try and stop. And I'll put in the quick save now. No, I'll not put in the quick save now. I don't want to turn into a full-on cheater, but you know, Mars has these spirits that sometimes rip off bits of your ship, and in that case I do want a quick save. Also, if something dumb happens, or if the ground happens to be at like 80 kilometers, maybe I want to try that again. I think that's a prerogative I am free to take. So now it all comes down to actually having the patience to slow this down. The sun is over, where's the sun? Over there. So we should be landing in something that resembles daylight at least. One possible problem are these radiators, but I think even folded away they provide enough cooling, and if they get ripped off then the engine immediately stops, because then the generators don't have the radiators anymore, they need them to function. The lasers that initiate the fusion here, they stall and we crash. So I think I'm just going to fold away one just to be sure that we keep this one for sure, and then try and keep these two extended. I'm being an idiot. I'm just going to fold away both of them. We're not going to spend so much time anymore. The heat can just accumulate. That's fine. Look, we have massive waste heat capacity. And once we do get into some air, then, well, they will convect away some heat as well. So this is set for safety. 1800 meters per second remaining. We have a full data suite readout here. Wait, Does this give altitude? It gives me the altitude. Oh, I should have brought this along so many missions ago. Oh my god. Oh well, nothing to it now. This means that the elevation here is at about 20 kilometers, consistent with previous experiments. Okay, that changes nothing. We have impact time as well. That's nice. We can just, if we maintain the kilometer per second, we can just put that impact time at 50 seconds and then step on the brake. I think that's a good idea. I think a kilometer per second is... I think that won't cause undue aerodynamic stresses because the air is so thin. Kilometer per second should be fine. Yeah, that should be fine. Now I just want to get rid of the horizontal speed. We can do that by just keeping us pointed in this direction. Oh my god, this display of data is so powerful. I love it. I love it. 120 kilometers over the ice sheets. We have 87 kilometers per second of delta V left. That's at this low thrust setting though, because at full thrust it injects more fuel around the fusing pellets, and then the efficiency suffers. Experiments, I think we can't really do any experiments until we're on the ground. The crew experiments have been done. Duna's upper atmosphere, well fine, we can keep that because when we're landing it will still count as upper atmosphere. That's a bit strange, but you know, I'll roll with it. Can we transmit this? No. Well, we can, but it would be foolish. So let's temperature that. So we have upper atmosphere and we have the ground. So we can do one of the materials base from here. There is no benefit to doing them here. Oh, well, once we're on the ground, of course, we will count as landed. So we have some goose here. Should we do an EVA report from the upper atmosphere? No, we can do that once we're landed. Horizontal speed is now almost gone. That's at 200 meters per second. You can see it even. We're just appearing to fall straight down, which is what we want. It sounds like it's a problem, but it's not. We're at 70 kilometers over the surface now. Wait, was that my safety margin thing? Yes. Yes, it was. I need to start pointing up and braking a little bit. Well, not really. We're not at the kilometer per second yet. We're 60 kilometers. Wow, this is controlled. Okay, 50 kilometers. I'm going to burn a little bit harder, just because I'm scared. That will give us, this thrust setting will give us 36 kilometers per second, which is still enough. I don't have to be frugal with the thrust. That is nice. Okay, 500 meters per second. It seems as though everything is under control. We do have a fairly top-heavy ship, and we are landing with active reactors, so that might be a problem. But we have a wide landing base. So far, everything does appear to work out. So I hardly dare say it, but things are looking good. We're at 55 kilometers. I'm going to land in the upper atmosphere on, well, not Olympus Mons, but something of equal impressive height. Okay, full deceleration thrust now, 2 Gs. Blast irradiating the landscape below us, but we don't care about that so much. 25 kilometers, going down at 300 meters per second. 200. Let's leave it at that for now. See if we can cancel the rest of the horizontal velocity. Yes, that's 200 millimeters per second. That's 2 meters per second. 20 kilometers above the landscape. We are in the sun. We're going down at 180 meters per second. We're at 70 millimeters per second horizontal velocity. That's just about zeroed out now. 3 millimeters per second horizontal velocity is neat-o. That's fine. We're at 16,000 meters. Our impact time is now 50 seconds. I'm going to lock it upright with the SAS. Fire up the fusion drive again. And going to keep an eye on the impact time here so that that doesn't go unduly high. We have the engine authority to just keep that at 10 seconds, I think. That's a little bit risky, but things are looking really, really good. I just trust this thing to pull through for me. 40 seconds, 30 seconds. We're falling straight towards the ground. I'm just too scared. I need to reduce this speed. 100 meters per second. That's 80 seconds. Well, it's 40 seconds if you count the acceleration. Apparently, integrals. I don't do them in my head. 7 kilometers above the ice. We're landing on the CO2 ice. I think that's fairly unique. Waste heat is still in check. 25 seconds. Let's burn and keep that at 25 seconds. 26. And 4 kilometers over the ground, over the surface. Not sure we can reasonably call that ground. Let's see. Coming up on 3 kilometers, 12 millimeters per second of horizontal drift. That is fine. We don't need to take that into account for anything, I don't think. 50 meters per second. Guys, it's gonna work out. It's gonna work out. At this speed, we might even survive just like this. 30 seconds now at 22 meters per second. 2 kilometers to go. I would accelerate, but I don't think that's the way to go. We are just gently setting down. No business with parachutes. We're not even in the thick part of the atmosphere. We don't need the thick part of the atmosphere. We're coming here to do science, and that's all. And we built a futuristic starship that doesn't rely on stupid chemical burns. Because we can all agree chemical burns are stupid. Ever so gently accelerating now, accelerating downwards, that is. So we have 1400 meters to go, and everything is completely under control. There's 20 seconds to impact. Although this is about accurate. Let's slow down again to just 10 meters per second. No chances here, no chances. We can just slow down and do it. 900 meters to go, guys. 900 meters to go. All the delta V in the world. Oh, I'm going up. That's not the correct idea. Right, 900 meters. Ooh, I'm suddenly accelerating downwards again because I shut down the engine. Things like that happen. Right, 13 meters per second. 8 meters per second. 5. Yeah, okay, we have a horizontal speed of 300 millimeters per second. It seems to be larger. Okay, that's 8 seconds until impact time. I was just accelerating a little bit too much. Here we have eat some engine. That's 10 seconds to impact. We're at 270 meters. Why is our horizontal speed so high? Why is it suddenly many meters per second? We don't want that. Okay, let's hover. Let's hover. Let's hover. And fix that. Horizontal speed is again really low. Okay. Coming back down again. Coming back down again. Horizontal speed. 100 millimeters per second. Increasing the thrust slightly. We're at 90 meters of altitude. That's a high skyscraper. If there was a city, we'd be below the roofs. We need to slow down a bit. Well, not slow down, but I want to slow down the horizontal speed a bit. Why does that keep increasing? Some RCS might be nice now, but oh well, let's not screw around too much and just set this thing down. Ooh, that was a really rough landing. Saw the struts flexing and everything. Don't know why that had to happen that way after all the hovering and control, but you know, yeah. Let's chalk it up to nervous scribbles. Anyway, we are landed. We are landed and we have lots and lots of Delta V remaining to get back with. It's party time. Right, let's take readings. These are first time ever readings. Save that. Oh, we need to take that in first, right. Yes, yes, yes. Time to collect data. Time to collect data. We will make one EVA trip. Yes. There is a slight potential problem that the stairs here, they don't extend all the way down. Let's shut down the reactor as well. And enable tritium breeding on that. Jesus, was that not enabled the whole time? Well, deactivate the reactor, we don't need it. Okay, Eden. We need to get clear of the ship. Anyway, he hit his head on the radiator that's currently radiating several megawatts of power, but no matter. EVA report from the surface. Wow, yes. Take a surface sample as well. Wonderful. And plant a flag. Awesome. This actually could work. This actually could work. Amazing. Future tech. That's just a cheer. It's not really a flag, it's a cheer. Okay, let's take the data. Come on, Kerbal, you can take the data. Fortunately, residual radiation is not that much of a problem to these guys. Oh, damn it, this is hard. Boom, collected the data. Or did they just reset the experiment? Let's see, stored data. Yeah, that reset the experiment. Damn it. that's not what we were trying to do. Okay. Problem, it's really hard to collect this data. Solution, we don't need to fucking collect the data because the whole ship is coming home. Right. Okay then, no worries. Now we just need to get back inside the ship, which is hard because these jetpacks, they are not powerful enough to actually propel the Kerbal up. They're just powerful enough to sustain the motion of a jump. So, and of course I could have built stairs all the way down, but I thought that wasn't aesthetically pleasing enough. So I didn't. I did build stairs half the way down because otherwise they wouldn't be able to make it. I am that smart. Right on, right on, right on, right on. Let's get these datas. No, I want that data. Take that data. Take that. Now go inside. Now, let's see what horrible things we did. In space, yeah, we need to keep this and take it home. Doing a surface. Upper atmosphere, so we want to take that reading whilst we're flying away from here. And we want to take new readings. Oh, we can't do that from here, that's fine. We want to take new readings on these things. From the surface. Yes. And there will be one duplicate here, but that doesn't matter. Okay. We also want an EVA reading from the upper atmosphere. Yes. Right. I think that was the one duplicate. What do we have here? We have 12 experiments. And I think this ship can land on Earth. but that will be a little bit dangerous. So what we will do instead is we will put it in Earth orbit and have a data shuttle collect the data. And let's transmit what we can, like the EVA reports. Keep this, keep this, keep this, keep this, keep this, keep this, keep this. Transmit this. Yes. So all we need to do now is get out of here and get into orbit again. Well, we're almost completely on the pole, so the direction doesn't really matter. We'll end up in a polar orbit anyway. Yeah, doesn't matter. So, does it not matter? How can it not matter? Yeah, you can pick the place of them. You can of course still pick the inclination of the orbit, but for our purposes it doesn't really matter. Wait, it does matter, because we want to launch away. We want to do an interplanetary thing, and we can perfectly well get into a polar orbit that doesn't work for that. However, if we go straight north, things should work out. Right, fire up the reactor again. And this is where this program really shines, because this should be completely painless. There's the shadow. We're off this planet. Retracting the landing legs. We have all the delta V in the world, literally all of it. And let's have a look at our transfer windows from Duna to Kerbin. That happens in a year and 134 days. We'll add an alarm for that. And for now, focus on getting off the Martian ground. And oh boy, is it ever going well. Our reactors are still full of uranium. Our drives are full of tritium. Actually, we have more than we had when we set off. The deuterium hasn't even been dented, so things are looking good. What's our apoapsis like? Now it's 137, so yeah, pitch over time. No need to worry about aerodynamics, not a lot anyway. We're almost completely out of the atmosphere already. And we simply need to boost for about 3 kilometers per second, and then we'll be in orbit around Mars. That will be the end point of this episode. It will be a little bit short because, you know, the 1 hour 20 minutes feature length episodes, they're fun and all, but I would prefer to keep them a little bit shorter. We can celebrate, and in the next episode the Kerbals get to go to Kerbin and share their scientific findings with the crowd, with the rest of us. And then maybe we'll have some points to start playing with antimatter drives, futuristic warp drives, and all that good stuff. At least that's something I would like to do. Anyway, let's reduce the thrust again to save as much delta V as possible. Because hey, if we can leave this in Earth orbit with 100 kilometers per second of delta V to spare, we can just use it to go to the moon once or twice. Or thrice or 4 or 5 times. Just, you know, do stuff there. Awesome. So let me just establish orbit, and then we can finish off this episode. I think that should be an orbit there. Wonderful. We'll just start burning for that right now. Ah, most of our speed now is still vertical, so we do need about 2.5 kilometers per second of additional speed. Let's see if we can't use time acceleration to make that happen a little bit quicker, even though we are using a third thrust to, you know, save fuel. And of course we have to think about deploying our heat radiators, because this heat is getting out of control. Well, it's not quite getting out of control yet, but you know, it very well could get out of control, and that's something we don't want. Here, now it's being radiated properly, and it's dropping again. That is good, that is good. Wow, it's radiating almost a gigawatt. I'm not sure that's actually realistic, but maybe it is. Maybe it is, who am I to say? Right, time warping time. Mars orbiting time. Wonderful, this has never worked so well before yet. Nice. Nice, we have lots of science, we have a spaceship with some happy Kerbals going home, and if we can, well, yeah, next episode we'll get this thing to Earth, send up a shuttle to get the science and the Kerbals. Not the Kerbals, just the science. And then we'll attempt to land the ship on Earth for a recovery from a ship that was on Mars. That should give us some science as well. On Earth, of course, we will have to take care of where to land, because this thing won't do a sea landing. Actually, I say that, but it might. It might. Just the experiments and stuff might not survive. And we need them to survive. And the air will be a larger problem on Earth. That means we'll need to slow down about from 7.5 kilometers per second to less than 1 in a fairly short time span, and then we need lots of fuel to not crash and burn and die. But we have that. Right, so here we have it, Mars orbit. Wonderful. Now it's just a question of waiting for the transfer window, and to that end we will of course disable the reactor here, so that we may save tritium. These reactors, they will last long enough, they will last until the end of time. Of course, the problem is that as soon as these 3 reactors die, we won't be able to initiate this reactor anymore. As soon as this is actually running, the generator from it will generate enough to keep it running, but from a cold, to start cold, we need the fission reactors. Anyway, thanks for watching today, the first successful Mars mission. Oh wait, what we can do, we can have a quick peek at the R&D center to see if the science we did transmit, it wasn't a huge amount, but it was some, to see if we can do something with that. We have 292 points. We kind of want this. That's not unlocked yet, I don't even know what it is. Particle accelerators, antimatter collector. Yes, we need this. We need this. Then we can set up antimatter collection stations. But 2000 science is too much. We're probably not going to get that even from the Mars mission. Shit. Rover wheels are fancy, but composites, more building stuff. This seems like a good idea, because with this fusion engine we will be needing some scaffolding and stuff to build rockets around that. So let's get this. Oh, we can't even get that. Actuators. Well, let's just get this then. The asteroid grabbing thing. Hey, we can do that. We can grab asteroids. That sounds like something nice. And let's get this. Fairings, planes. Hell, we can try a fusion powered plane. Why not? At least we have more toys to play with. So, as I said, next episode we will be bringing the Mars guys home, and we will be working on the tech tree. So, thanks for watching, and see you then.